Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Producing Out Loud. I'm Jeff Straw. I'm joined today with Avery Berman here in the Skype cam, and here in the studio again with my friend Liam Shy. Thanks for being here, guys.
Yeah, welcome.
Oh yeah, thanks for having us.
Boom. Today we're talking about, so you've uploaded to SoundCloud, now what? And I think everybody loves SoundCloud to one degree or another, unless, of course, your tracks are getting blocked all the time because you're a DJ uploading mixes, but we're not going to talk about that today. What we're going to talk about is original productions, original tracks, original music. As an artist, what do you do with those tracks once you've spent hours and hours and hours in the studio with them? What's next, right? SoundCloud's an easy option. Everyone kind of knows it and loves it, but we want to talk about what else and some other strategies that hopefully you can take away from it. Action points that you can work on if you're an independent independent artist or independent producer. And we all come from a different background. So take just a couple brief minutes to talk about why the three of us are sitting in these chairs today. And then we'll kind of dig into it. So Avery, you want to start?
Sure. All right. So my name's Avery. I'm a music producer and songwriter, and just a guy who plays some music. I just like music a lot. I originally began as an artist on YouTube. Really, I was pushing that route hard. I got some fans. I had some stuff going on. I even eventually won some awards. But I never really made any money. I would only kind of make a few one-off sales here and there, despite what I felt like was working my butt off. And then I kind of switched directions and started music licensing, and that completely changed my life. And so today I'm mostly in music licensing and focusing on how I can bring value to the world through my tracks and who really is looking for them specifically. So that's kind of my short story.
Awesome. Awesome. I spent almost 10 years at a company called Ingrooves, a digital distributor, doing music licensing, more for high-profile kind of film and TV placements, video game placements, and pitching independent music for like pretty decent sums of money. And it was always my favorite call to make was, hey man, I got you on a TV show and I've got 10 grand for you. Do you want to do the deal or not? And the answer was always like, oh my God, yes. Right? Good times, really good times. No, I got to make a really positive impact in the lives of a bunch of independent musicians and creators. And as a business guy and as a connector and a networker, that's really powerful for me. I'm an artist as well. I've been a DJ for, since 92. I've been playing saxophone my whole life, as you guys know. And lately I've been playing guitar and started a rock band and doing the artist thing, but always on the side. I've always been blessed to have a job within the industry as well. So I have like kind of a unique angle on all of this. I've sat in the sort of business development seat. I've sat in the licensing pitching guy's seat. I've sat in, the A&R seat. I've sat in a lot of different seats in a lot of different facets of the industry. And now as director of marketing here at Pyramind, it's a whole nother angle to be in the education side of all this and sort of be able to convey a lot of the stuff that I've picked up over the course of my career to people both here at ground campus at Pyramind and also through the mentorship network. So all three of us are mentors here on the network. And if you've got questions that come up through a result of this podcast or anything else and you want to dig in more, we're all available. So that's our probably first plug. First plug. I'll try not to make this whole thing a commercial, but it's an important part of what we're up to these days, and it's exciting. So lastly, one of the things I'm really passionate about and why I'm in the seat today is about distribution and why it's so important to have proper digital distribution, not just a user-generated site called SoundCloud where I threw my track up and now I'm done. That's going to dovetail nicely into you because I know that as an artist, you've had quite a bit of success and also on the business side as well. So take it away.
Sure. So what's up, guys? Liam Shy. You probably remember me from other YouTube videos. I'm back. So he missed me. So the reason why I'm in this chair today, specifically, besides my collection of blazers, is actually because of my history with helping my clients who are very strongly rooted in the EDM scene, right? EDM, electronic dance music, I mean, in the broadest spectrum from psy-dub all the way to psy-trance, all the way to techno house in between. But really helping clients understand what it takes to just go from putting up their track on SoundCloud and hoping that they get discovered, right? Just kind of, crossing their fingers and toes, to actually setting up an actionable to-do list and an actionable plan to help them realize real success along the way. And so in my quest to not only help further my own career, but also to help with my clients and my friends, I wound up creating a company called Flight Collective, founded that a few years ago. And over the course, I've worked with about 30 or 40 different clients, and we've really helped them not just on the SoundCloud platform, which was specifically kind of what we started off, helping them to understand how to actualize real growth. But even now today where we're doing full-scale publicist development. So yeah, quite a wide range of background.
Cool. So I think as far as it goes today, I'm going to start, which is weird because I don't normally start. But, and I think this will dovetail nicely into your world and then nicely into your world, because you came from this like artist, and I'm looking at you, Avery, came from this I'm an artist and I've had some traction on YouTube, but I don't seem to be making any real revenue. And you kind of made a pivot into this other world that I think a lot of people might decide is worthy of them or something they can do in parallel, right? And I've always been a really big proponent of, if you're not overloaded, just say yes to almost any opportunity that comes your way. And it sounds like, I don't know, for me, that served me very well in my career. And I've certainly seen it work well in the career of a lot of artists. So I guess for me, you know, I started in record retail back in the day when there were still people buying vinyl and still people buying CDs by the bucket load. And I was a buyer here at Virgin Records downtown, and I got to run the entire dance music and buy all the vinyl for the store, and it was just a dream job. I got to run my own record store with someone else's money. It was super fun, right? And as a result, I got to sort of pick and choose what was going to be featured on the end caps and featured on the listening stations, and I got to really be the tastemaker for the store. And you know, I got to really dig into what makes somebody buy a record, or what makes somebody buy a CD. And part of it, and I think a really big part of it that a lot of musicians don't want to admit, is the way it looks, right? It's maybe more so a physical product than in digital product, but goddamn, that cover art is so important, and it's such an immediate touchstone. Before anybody clicks play, they see that image. And I think that a lot of people are remiss in thinking that, like, well, I got a logo, just put my black and white logo on my release and it's going to do great. And having a bit more, and you can speak a lot to this too, because I love all the artwork that you've done with Mountain of Youth. But I did a little series called Destination Lounge, and it was a really big, successful CD series. And yeah, the music was great, and I put a lot of time and effort into licensing all these tracks and doing a DJ mix and blah, blah, blah. But man, that cover image made it fly off the shelves. Right. It at least makes people pick it up. And in the digital world, you want to give them something that's attractive, right? And so I think that the notion of branding, color choice, artistic choices, logo design, font selection, all of this stuff is so important and so often overlooked.
I think probably the most important element of that is consistency. Because you can have one great cover art here and one great cover art there, but if they look nothing alike, if there's nothing really tying the thing together, then you're not really building a foundation in which your fans can always lock on and say, oh yeah, there's my guy, there's my gal, there's my band, you know? So consistency.
With vinyl, it was always like you'd see the record label and they'd always have kind of a color scheme that works. So as you're flipping through stuff back in the 12-inch days, right? Like as you're looking for records, like you knew, oh, this label's always hot. I'm going to listen to this. I'm going to listen to this. And it's that visual marker to at least get you interested. And you've released some stuff as an artist, Avery.
Yeah, and even, I'm really glad you brought this up first, because this applies everywhere, right? In licensing also. This is super, super important. And it's one of those things that the image that you're using to represent yourself should be creating a conversation between you and who you're trying to reach. And that image should be fostering that connection. So if you just kind of have this random thing, or, you know, that's cool and then that's cool, or you don't give much thought to it, you're missing out on so much potential. And that you put so much work into writing that song, into releasing that music. Now you need to think, how are you going to create the conversation that's inside of that package, right? And it's the same for licensing, the same for artists. That's just super important piece of the puzzle.
Good. Well, I'm glad to see it. You feel like it translates to that sort of side as well.
I also think that it goes with the name also. The image and the name, the two sides of the same coin. What you call it is just as important as that image, as what's inside of it. It all is that one package.
So I have a question, and I'll throw it out to both of you guys. What do you guys think about artists who make multiple styles of music? Do you think that they should have separate projects? Like say I make house and I make dubstep. Should those be separate projects, or should I put them under one roof?
Man, it's a tricky one, right? Because I've always released stuff as DJF, right? Which was back before there was an internet and you could use a letter, and I didn't know that there was a million other guys using the same stupid name. But all that aside, I would kind of weave in through downtempo and breaks and house and all sorts of stuff. And it was all in the electronic world. And it wasn't until I grabbed a guitar and started writing metal and rock stuff when I was like, you know, this needs a new name. Yeah. So it was, for me, artistically, this big jump into Malvation, that new project. That was like, okay, this needs a whole different brand, a whole different site, a whole different everything. Right. Within electronic music, those scenes are also still really sort of distinct. And so I think some guys can get away with being a boundary crosser and a genre blender, right. And other guys, man, if you're really just known as the deep house guru and you put out a dubstep track, are you just going to piss off a bunch of fans? Like, it's something to be said for that.
Yeah. What do you think, Avery?
Yeah. So this is a great one too. So can you remind me of the question super quick? Because I had my answer and I just
yeah, no worries. So I'm an artist. I make house and I make
multiple
dubstep.
genres, right?
Right.
Okay, so that's me. Okay, so I'm one of those people that has done that. And so I had my career where at first it was like, well, whatever I made, it was just all under this one roof.
Right.
And then I realized that every song that you finish, if you're like me and just is kind of riding a new vibe all the time, it might be for a different audience and a different person. And to really be considering what is kind of the umbrella thing that can encompass all of your creativity, or if you're kind of, maybe if you're just focusing on deep house, that's what you've got going on. That's your umbrella. That's what you can be focusing on, and that's where you can be selling your stuff and representing that and creating that audience. But if you've got all kinds of stuff, you can put it all under one umbrella, but you may have to be more specific as to your branding, right? To me, that would scream of a personality, a persona. If you're going to be doing all these things, your persona would lead the charge, right? And the personality that you put into all those. Right. Or you can realize this deep house song and this cinematic song are for completely different audiences. So I'm just going to opt out my own ego or myself, whatever, and I'm going to shop this deep house song to these people, and I'm going to shop this cinematic song to these people. And just like that, you can be doing whatever you want and just thinking about where it's most appropriate.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say in my experience, the importance of separation cannot be understated. It cannot be understated. And the reason why is this. We live in this very interesting time in music where on one hand, there's a lot more connections between different genres. There's a lot more connections between different communities. There's a lot more options of things to listen to that are out there. However, in my experience, what I've really found is that communities tend to be very niche oriented. Even within a genre, for example, such as psychedelic trance, which you might already think is like a left field, you know, side room genre. Within psytrance, there's full-on psytrance, there's dark psytrance, there's high-tech psytrance, there's psy-tech, right? There's psy-breaks. There's all these various different subgenres. And a lot of the what I would say, honestly, I think is kind of like a mistake of artists when they first start out, is that they're so excited and they want to make this style and this style and this style and this style, but like you're not gonna be able to really build a receptive audience if you do that, because people want to latch onto you as like not only a niche artist, but like a niche artist, at least to start. Yeah. I think at least to start. I think eventually after you get yourself established, it's safer to then start to branch out a little bit and test the waters. But I think really, if you want to be successful, the narrower that you can really focus and the more, again, I'm gonna harp on this like the whole time. Consistency, that's what really helps build brand trust with your audience, with your listeners, because then they know I can always go to this artist for this thing. If I put them on my Spotify playlist and I walk away, you know, I don't need to be freaked out that in 10 minutes like some drum and bass is going to come on. You know, you want to have that trust with your audience. So
I like drum and bass.
I love drum and bass too, and if you do drum and bass, do drum and bass. But
I'm kidding.
You know,
so that's a nice dovetail though into this next bit, which is distribution. And one of the things I love to look at when you discover a new label, especially like you go to their Beatport page and you look at their releases, and the labels I like tend to have this like really like kind of thing that comes over you because all the releases have a really nice general look and feel.
Yep.
Right? It's that consistency of branding, consistency of look and feel across releases, across artists on the labels. And sometimes maybe that's the artist page that has that really nice consistency, and sometimes it's the label page, and sometimes it's both. But establishing that level of brand trust and brand awareness takes time. It doesn't happen on a single. It doesn't happen on a single full-length release. It happens over the course of time, over a number of releases, right? And so, you know, the thing to think about is Beatport a really important site for you, and are the niche dance sites really an important location for you to be as an artist and to have your stuff for sale? Or is the more general kind of consumer level sites, the iTunes, the Amazons, those of the world, are those really all that really matters to you? And if you're making indie songwriter, rock, pop, anything, even urban music, you know, Beatport's probably not a very important retail for you. In which case, that choice leads into the decision of who should do my distribution, right? We were talking about this a little bit before.
Correct.
And, you know, I hate to keep harping on Beatport, and I know that they're in kind of a little bit of turmoil, and who knows where they're going to be in
Isn't
the
everyone
next year.
in turmoil right now?
Right, jeez.
SoundCloud, Beatport.
But for the moment, they're still selling a lot of music, right? And there's TrackSource, and there's Stompy, and there's DJ Download still that got bought by Juno, or did Juno buy DJ Download? Juno.
I don't know.
Anyways, so, but fact of the matter is like the dance retail world is kind of in its own little bubble. And I think that most distributors don't touch it because they don't understand it. They don't want to play the game called, I have to get a label approved at Beatport before I can start sending stuff. And so if that world is important to you, you need to look at distribution options that are going to tackle that.
Right.
If
I can even back up a little bit.
Yeah.
What Jeff is speaking to is, as an independent artist, if you're trying to put out your music, you can choose certain distribution folks like DistroKid or like Proton Sound System or Label Engine or CD Baby, and they're going to give you different options. And it's the Beatport distinction cannot be understated. This is actually a really big distinction. Historically, it's been very difficult to get onto Beatport. So if you're in the dance music world and that platform is important to you and you're independent, it's been almost impossible to get onto Beatport, and it's only more recently that some of these other options have opened up. So I just wanted to put a little back.
Yeah, no, and
thanks
for doing that, because I forget that the definition of distribution isn't like on everyone's
not necessarily
front of
obvious.
their frontal cortex, right? I lived
So
and
what is
breathed it for so long.
distribution?
So, you hit the nail on the head. It's called I'm a label or I'm an artist,
Yep.
and I want to get my stuff into as many storefronts and retail revenue-generating opportunities as possible across the world. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to have a distribution company and I'm going to be rich, as you know, Avery, and as I know as an artist, and as you know, it's a small piece of the overall equation, right? The revenue you see from sales these days is nominal at best in digital. You'll see spikes right around release day, and if you've got the grace to have a giant catalog, you're going to see decent sales over time. But the legitimizing factor of being on iTunes, of being on Beatport, of being on Amazon, Spotify, when someone goes to look at your music, again, I hate to use that phrase you just used twice, but it can't be understated, right? When you're trying to get a gig booked overseas, or you're trying to get a gig booked on the East Coast, and you're out here in California, and your stuff isn't even up on iTunes or Beatport, like, they don't really care that you have a bunch of SoundCloud followers necessarily.
Depends how many.
Right. So for me, in my experience, the legitimizing factor of having things for sale in all of the sort of mass retailers is a really important thing as an artist. The nice thing is it's easy these days. It used to be you had to get a physical distributor, and that was a nightmare.
There's no excuse not to.
Right.
Yeah, because
you mentioned
you're
a couple,
leaving money on the table. Yeah,
you mentioned a couple good ones. And I would urge you to, just kind of check out the options out there. There's some that to break it down into like 2 or 3 really big categories. One is they only work with established labels. Ingrooves, where I was at for years, at this point, they will not sign an independent artist unless they're coming off a major label deal or they've got just a ton of heat. But as a new artist coming, they're really not interested. They want to work with labels with big catalogs. The Orchard is very much like that as well. Then there's a lot of DIY options, and the DIY do-it-yourself options. The main differentiator there is, do they take a percentage of your overall revenue, or are they charging you an upfront fee? And if they're charging an upfront fee, is it on a per record basis, or is it like DistroKid, which is a subscription model? Mm-hmm. And so you kind of have to do a little bit of number crunching and say, how much stuff am I going to put out in a year? And if it's a lot, I'm going to do a single a month, which I think would be a really good plan, especially if you're in the electronic world. You want to look at how much is that going to cost me on this guy versus cost me on this guy, and then look at where are the stores that I can get into. So that is distribution in a nutshell. And if you want to learn more, come talk to me.
Avery, do you have anything to add?
Yeah. Okay. So everything you guys just said, I agree with, especially for somebody who's looking to be in this world of attracting fans, being out there everywhere that you can be, and that's all great. What I'd like to say for my kind of, I veer off a little bit, is I would zoom out even further and think about, what do you, creator like you, what do you want to do with your music? Truly, what are your goals that you want? I really think that a lot of people almost blindly follow this path that's just been kind of given down to us by like the music gods or whatever. Like you make your song, you put it out, and then all of a sudden, question mark, people find you, and then, oh, I'm rich and I got fans, you know? And as we're saying, well, one, that's a very challenging route to take. You can do it, and if you are going to do it, go do it. But two, that's not the only thing that you can do. If you don't want to play the game of being everywhere, and you'd rather, like for me, when I played the game of being everywhere, and that was fine, and I was on all these stores, and I was getting sales in all these places, and it was great, and I still am in those places, and I'm happy that I did it. But what I can say is that when I stopped and I got very focused with what my goals were as a musician, and at one point in my career, I decided, you know, I'm getting fans, but at this point in my career, I need financial stability over fans. So I made a very focused decision that I was going to get my finances straight with music and earn income with it. And then I did those activities specifically. And so these days, I haven't released anything to SoundCloud or YouTube or any distributor in probably a year and a half now or more. And I've had more success the past 2 years than ever before. So it's about what your goals are and being very focused and specific and making a plan to achieve those things and being okay to think for yourself and deciding what's going to work for me, who are the big players in this arena, and how can I do some awesome stuff for them to partner with them and make some good music.
So Avery, if I can, I love everything that you just said. So if you could give some advice to an up-and-coming musician today who's like, Avery, you're speaking my language, screw being famous, I don't care about that, I just want to pay my rent. What are a couple of avenues that, you know, somebody who's just starting out could pursue that would be, you know, realistic options to start earning income from their music?
Sure. So first of all, let's drop the music for just 1 second and think.
Okay. Dropped.
Okay.
Mic drop it or?
Yeah. Well, what I mean is that what are your skills? What are your biggest skills that you have that are actually contributing to you making that music? Are you a kick-ass producer, right? Are you making awesome beats? Or are you making some really cool songwriting? Are you vocally very talented with your songwriting abilities and lyrics? Or are you really, really good at writing cinematic scores, right? What is your biggest talent? Now let's see. You can always do all kinds of other stuff, but what are your biggest ones? Now let's go and see where are your people, right? These skills being actively pursued. We have to do some research and see who is actually paying for these skills. And in many cases, it might not be just fans on YouTube or SoundCloud, right? That could be a great part of the equation. But speaking specifically about income and finances, we need to see what are you creating, who is looking for it, and how can I give it to them? So it really has to do with just being aware of the surroundings. Listen to commercials, right? Listen to movies. Listen to the radio, and then also listen to some crazy deep YouTube playlists, right? Find those labels. Beatport, like you said, Beatport is a great spot for dance music producers and electronic producers. That's one of the distribution platforms that you should be looking at if you're making that music. But if you're not, you'll be doing very different activities, and you'll need to find where those people are gathering and spending money. I hope that that's kind of helpful.
No, it totally is. Abe from Beatstars was here to do an event a while ago, a couple months ago, and they're a producer marketplace and licensing kind of ecosystem. They've got hundreds of thousands of guys on the site, millions of dollars in revenue that they're paying out, a really, really healthy environment and ecosystem that he's built there for urban producers, electronic producers to a certain extent, but really his heavyweight angle is like urban music. And he's not selling to fans. He's selling to artists who need beats for their, you know, they're an MC and they're looking for something, or a company that's looking to license something for a bed for a TV show, or, you know, a lot of these B2B kind of opportunities. And the artist doesn't really have to be concerned with who's ultimately is going to be the end buyer. He's just writing great stuff and getting it up on, that's one of many platforms. And I know that we're talking about AudioJungle, right? Is where you're having a lot of success?
Yeah, so yeah, I love that you just brought that up. So I think that today we're truly in this amazing time where there are some big players like Beatstars and like AudioJungle, which is where I have my home, where we're seeing marketplaces pop up that are kind of doing all of the work for you, and all you need to do is show up with stellar music or very accurate music, kind of like I said, that this is the right music for that place, and then title it well, make the image well, and speak to those who are looking for it. And you can truly see lots and lots of success, both financially and with people who are just kind of tuning in and listening to you, by playing your music to a marketplace that already has people there looking for what you're already making. So you don't have to do all the crazy stuff anymore yourself. Beatstars is a great platform. So is AudioJungle, and I would look at both of those. And there's more turning up all the time, like MusicBed is another one. And these are basically curation services that find people like you, and they help you deliver your music to people who are looking for them. And they take a percentage, of course. And I just want to say, because many people, I know that some artists get all like, oh, I don't want anyone to take a percentage of my music. I just want to say that if you help somebody else get rich off of your music, you're going to get rich too. So, you know, you got a partnership.
To be clear though, are they taking an ownership percentage on your publishing at AudioJungle, or do you mean a percentage of your revenue?
Just revenue. And I am somebody who's very, very specific about owning my music.
Just making sure.
So that's very important to me.
Because that's I think, something that, I don't want to go too deep down that rabbit hole because I can. But the notion of giving up your publishing for an opportunity is not something I personally would ever recommend. But giving up a piece of the revenue because they brought a deal to the table, it goes without saying. Right. Like, you don't get rich without them earning a piece. So,
exactly.
but really good point. And thank you. Where to go from here?
Well, I kind of have, I guess, one thing that I guess I want to say is kind of a piece that I think a lot of people think about.
Yeah,
I know that in the music industry, I see it, so many musicians with it, and it is that I think there's this idea that you're going to be rescued, or that you're going to kind of put your stuff out there and someone's going to find it, and all of a sudden everything's going to be different and you're going to be rescued. You know, maybe if you're like that 0.01 whatever, but that's not a business plan and that's not a success strategy. You have to own your career because nobody wants to rescue anybody here, okay? Everyone wants to partner. So what you want to do is look for good partnerships where both of you are bringing good value to each other and never for this rescuing situation. And I feel like people that are waiting to be rescued are going to be waiting for a long time. And I guess I just wanted to bring that ideology up because I see it everywhere. You know,
you said something in that statement that really struck me, and it made me think of a resource to point out for people. But that's the notion of providing value. Mm-hmm. As an artist, as a businessman, as a artistic businessman in the music world, and just as a human being, for Christ's sakes, like providing value when you have relationships with other people. They want you around more. They're more likely to throw you a bone called, hey, I've got this great sync deal and I need music for it. And do you want to write something for it? If the last time you came to the table and gave them a lead, or, you know what I mean? So I think that the notion of using your network and helping others as it relates, not just I know all these people and they all can help me maybe. It's playing dot connector and saying, you know what, Liam, you'd be great if you met my friend Avery.
Yeah.
Right? And providing value to both of you, not just, I don't know. I think that that's a really strong point. The other thing I wanted to shout out, and that's made me think of that, is the SoundCloud Bible. I know that we talked a lot about SoundCloud here in the beginning, but Buddy, I think it's Vogt, sorry if I blew your name, but wrote the SoundCloud Bible, and it's not a cheap little PDF, but it put a lot of time and energy into kind of a playbook for SoundCloud. And I know we were talking a little bit earlier about it. Not something I'm like, go out and buy it or else, but certainly if you're really looking to play the SoundCloud game well, it's a really nice resource. So
yeah,
for what it's worth.
To just kind of tie both of those points together, I think one of the biggest things that you can do as an artist who is trying to go the fame, we'll call it the fame route versus the money route, which maybe eventually will lead to money, but just, you know, for people who are focused on building a fan base and playing shows versus licensing and that type of a world, the biggest challenge that you have is to build a large grassroots network of support. That is by and large the biggest challenge, and that's really what separates the artists who succeed versus the artists who don't. Because what do they always say? If you want to play the game, it's not about how good you are, it's about how many tickets you sell, right? That's what, if you want to get a booking agent, if you want to get a manager, if you want to, you know, play this game on a professional level, that's what it always boils down to. Your
butts
worth
in the seat.
Your worth is based on butts in the seat, and your ability to get butts in the seat starts off with your ability to connect with your community and to build a rapport with your community, and to over time establish yourself as a leader and a visionary within that community. And the way that you do it is through consistency, which we talked about, consistency with branding, consistency in terms of a release schedule. So actually always constantly coming out with new high quality material. And then by bringing value, which is the last point that you guys both talked about. So one of the techniques that I like to, you know, work with my clients on is when they're basically first starting out, is to help them to establish an email list. And I really think the power of the email list, people kind of forget about the email list because we're all on like Twitter and Facebook and blah, blah, blah. But the email list is one of the most profound ways that you can build a strong grassroots campaign, because you're not in somebody's feed. They're not scrolling by you. They don't see it and then forget about it. You actually show up in their inbox. But you can't just create an email list by buying a list or spamming people, because that doesn't work. You're not going to get any results from that.
Also illegal.
It's also illegal. Yeah, I mean, it's illegal and it's stupid and it's a waste of everybody's time. So why bother? But what you can do, right, is reach out to powerful people in your community, whether that's other DJs, whether that's promoters, whether that's record labels. You reach out to them and you say, "Hi, I'm Liam. I'm showing up today and I'm awesome. And I want to be, and I want to be,
Hi.
I'm reaching out to YouTube right now. And I want to bring value to the table. You know, I want to not just ask, you know, help me. I don't just.
So what kind of value can a new artist bring to a label or bring to a promoter, right? Because I love the point, but like, what's an example?
So for example, I'm working with a client right now. He's based in Santa Cruz. He knows a lot of promoters in Santa Cruz. So one of the techniques that we work on is when he emails somebody who's in, say, Oregon, he'll just introduce himself. He'll say, "Hey, I'm an artist. I'm based here in Santa Cruz. If you're ever in Santa Cruz, come by my studio. Right. If you ever want to try to play in Santa Cruz, let me know. I'll connect you with the promoters that are here. Also, by the way, you know, I'm putting out music once a month. If you like, you know, I'd be happy to send you a high quality wave whenever I have a new track, and then you can just get free awesome music in your inbox." And when you ask them and you invite them to the table as a friend, not as a spammer, the response rate is amazing. It's through the roof. People respond very positively to that, and they go, "Oh, wow, this is a genuine person who's trying to actually build community, not just ask me for something," right? Not just asking to be rescued. And it's the results are tremendous, and I really think that that's one of the most profound ways that artists can help to build that ground game today.
If I may, I just to go a little bit farther, because I love what you just said, everything you just said. And it is that I like to think about that the human animal, right? It responds to reciprocity. So you give first, always.
Right. Always.
Give first.
Always.
Then people feel like they're indebted to you to a certain degree, but in a positive way, because I had such a good experience with this person. Wow, they gave me something that was actually valuable to me without me even asking. I wonder what I could do for them. That's the natural response. Instead of just being like, "Hey, do this for me now," everyone's gonna be like, "Who are you? Screw you."
Right.
You know? And that's the same mentality that you also see on like all these SoundCloud like comments or YouTube comments, like, "Oh, great song, check me out, bro." You know,
right.
Or like just, "Oh, click my profile." I mean, it's obvious you didn't listen. You're just posting to try and get people to check you out. That doesn't work, right?
It'd be sort of like a guy having a hat out in front of him and just sitting there with his guitar waiting for someone to put the dollar in, and then I'll play the song. Right.
It's
kind of not how it works.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
He's providing the value in the hopes that there's something to get back. Right. So it's down to the street level musician. It's the same exact thing, all the way up the food chain, so to speak.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna go get a hat.
Yeah.
Take my acoustic out.
They're important.
Just to sit on Folsom Street for a while, see what I can drum up to fund the next episode of Producing Out Loud. Well, man, I think that this has been a nice little half hour here. Does anybody have any like kind of closing thoughts or anything else you wanted to bring to the table? Or
I guess I have just one small one, and that is we've talked about, all of us have kind of a different history here in what we're doing, And I guess the thing I want to talk about is to really think about, imagine the life that you'd like to get from music. And you can always change your goals too, but if you are somebody who, like me, I like to stay in my home and I like to just make music all day, and I don't really have an affinity to go out and tour. That's just not something that I care much about. So my career path took that. That was very important to me. Now, if you're somebody who you want the experience of going out and touring and having streaming fans chant your name, you might take a totally different path than what I have taken. But it's to really think about, what do you want? Do you want experiences? Do you want fans? Or do you want to just kind of chill at home and make music or something totally different? What do you want from music? And then make a plan for that.
I really like that, Avery.
It's fantastic.
I'm glad.
Good stuff, man. That's a good closing sentiment, I think.
Yeah. It's like you said earlier, don't just take what's been handed down by the gods. Actually think critically about it and say, is this model right for me? Like, is it real? Is it really? You know, because it might not be, and you might not even be aware of it. So make that goal and then work backwards from there into smaller actionable items that you can just tackle week by week, month by month, and make the magic happen.
Love it.
That's right.
Love it.
And you can do it, man. Like, we're in this time when we have so many tools. It's insane. You can do it. Just work every day on that craft, right? Make it your priority, and it's here for you.
Yep.
I love it. I love it.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us. I'm Jeff Straw. If you've got more questions about any of this stuff, hit us up individually on the Pyramind Mentorship Network. Leave us comments here on the YouTube video. We love that. Like, share. You know, it's YouTube, man.
Donate to buy Jeff a hat.
Do the thing. I got a lot of hats, man. Come on now. I want a hat filled with money. That's what I want. I got enough of my own hats. God damn it.
That's the business plan. Buy enough hats.
Don't we all? Hats filled with money.
Man of many hats.
That's the future.
Yes, yes,
all right.
yes. Fedoras. They will all be. No, I don't own it. No. Sorry.
Okay.
Edit that.
All right.
Maybe leave it. I don't know. Anyways.
Thank you, Avery.
Thanks for joining us,
Yeah,
Avery.
sure.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time. And thanks for being here, bro.
Awesome. Party.
Always good to see you.
If you're a music producer, subscribe to our channel and stay up to date on the latest Pyramind tutorial videos, track breakdowns, elite sessions, and more. Visit us at pyramind.com.